Captain Sarah Chen stared at the readouts on her cargo ship's display, double-checking the numbers for the third time. The radiation signature made no sense. She'd been running supplies between Titan and the Kuiper Belt colonies for 15 years, and she'd never seen anything like it. "Hey, Atlas," she called out to her ship's eye. "Can you confirm these readings?" "Confirmed, Captain. Energy signature indicates artificial construction, but utilizing unknown elements not present in our periodic table. Configuration suggests a vessel approximately 3 kilometers in length." Sarah leaned back in her pilot's chair, unconsciously running her fingers through her graying hair. At 45, she'd seen plenty of strange things in the outer solar system, but this was different. The object was sitting just beyond Pluto's orbit, partially cloaked by the radiation of a dying brown dwarf. "What's the nearest patrol ship?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "Nearest United Earth patrol vessel is 36 hours away at maximum burn," Atlas replied. "However, Captain, I feel compelled to point out that our charter requires us to investigate potential salvage opportunities." Sarah smiled. Atlas had been with her for 12 years, and he knew exactly how to frame things to pique her interest. "Right. Salvage opportunities. Nothing to do with scientific discovery or making history." "Of course not, Captain. Purely business considerations." She adjusted her ship's course, bringing the Star Wanderer into a careful approach vector. As they drew closer, the object's true nature became clear. It was indeed a ship, but like nothing humanity had ever constructed. Its hull was composed of overlapping plates that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, despite being solid. No visible propulsion systems, no apparent weapons arrays, just smooth, elegant curves that defied conventional engineering. "Atlas, are you recording all of this?" "Every sensor is active and recording, Captain. I've also taken the liberty of preparing the EVA suit with extended life support." Sarah grinned. "Getting presumptuous in your old age, aren't you?" "Simply being efficient, Captain. I calculate a 94.3% probability that you'll want to investigate personally." She was already heading to the airlock. The EVA suit was waiting, its carbon fiber shell gleaming under the prep room lights. As she suited up, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just another salvage opportunity. Something about this ship felt important, like it had been waiting for someone to find it. The approach to the alien vessel was eerily quiet. Sarah's maneuvering pack hummed softly as she crossed the 100 meters of void between her ship and the mysterious craft. As she drew closer, she noticed something odd. The hull wasn't just reflecting light. It was absorbing it in patterns, creating swirling designs that seemed almost like writing. "Atlas, are you seeing this?" she whispered, though there was no need to whisper in space. "Affirmative. The patterns appear to be some form of data storage or communication system. They're changing in response to your proximity." Sarah reached out to touch the hull, and the moment her gloved hand made contact, everything changed. The metal beneath her fingers rippled like water, and a doorway simply appeared, eye rising open with impossible smoothness. "Well," she muttered, "that's an invitation if I ever saw one." The interior of the ship was even stranger than its exterior. The corridors seemed to generate their own light, a soft blue glow that followed her movements. The air was breathable. Her suit's sensors confirmed that immediately, but she kept her helmet sealed. 20 years of salvage work had taught her that sometimes the most dangerous things were the ones you couldn't see. "Atlas, maintain continuous communication and keep recording. If anything happens to me, make sure this data gets back to Earth." "Understood, Captain." Though I should note that the ship appears to be actively maintaining life support systems, despite its apparent age. Sarah moved deeper into the vessel, following the patterns of light that seemed to be guiding her somewhere specific. The corridors twisted and turned in ways that defied normal spacecraft design, yet somehow felt natural, organic. She found the bridge, or what she assumed was the bridge, after about 20 minutes of walking. It was a circular chamber dominated by a single chair that looked almost human-sized. As she approached it, the entire room came alive with light, and a voice spoke directly into her mind. DNA pattern confirmed. Human variant matches genetic markers. Beginning initialization sequence. Sarah froze. Atlas, did you catch that? Negative, Captain. No audio transmission detected. However, I am detecting a significant increase in energy readings throughout the ship. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a being that looked almost, but not quite, human. Its features were elegant, elongated with skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. If you are receiving this message, then our calculations were correct. Humanity has evolved according to the patterns we set in motion over 50,000 years ago. You are not an accident. You are not alone. You are our chosen successors. The hologram shifted, showing images of stars, galaxies, and things Sarah couldn't even begin to comprehend. We were the archivists, the keepers of knowledge for 100,000 civilizations, but we saw what was coming. The heat death of the universe itself. We could not prevent it, but we could prepare for it. We seeded countless worlds with the potential for life. And on your world, we did something more. We encoded within your species' very DNA the capacity to understand and use our technology. Sarah felt her heart pounding. This wasn't just first contact. This was a message from the dawn of human existence itself. This vessel contains a fraction of our knowledge, a test to see if you are ready. There are others like it, scattered across the galaxy. Each contains a piece of what you will need. But time is short. The universe grows colder. You must find them all, unlock our legacy, and complete what we started. The hologram flickered, and for a moment, Sarah saw something in those alien eyes, hope tinged with desperate urgency. The ship is yours now, Captain Chen. It has already synchronized with your genetic pattern. You will find that you understand its systems instinctively, another gift we left within your DNA. But you must hurry. Others will have detected its activation. Not all of them will be friendly. The hologram faded, leaving Sarah alone in the suddenly silent chamber. She stood there for a long moment, trying to process everything she just learned. Then she did what any good salvage captain would do. She started taking inventory of her new ship. Atlas, she said finally, I think we're going to need a bigger crew. The news of Sarah's discovery spread through the solar system like wildfire. Within days, the space around the archivist vessel was crowded with research ships, military vessels, and more than a few opportunistic salvage crews. But the ship remained silent to all of them, responding only to Sarah and those she specifically authorized. She stood in what she'd come to think of as the memorial chamber, studying the vast star map that filled the room. Next to her, Dr. Kai Patel, Earth's leading archaeologist, was practically vibrating with excitement. It's incredible, he breathed, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. They didn't just guide our evolution. They left markers in our art, our mythology, our earliest written records. The gods that ancient cultures described weren't metaphors. They were memories. Sarah nodded absently, her attention focused on a particular cluster of stars. The ship, which she'd named Memory, had been slowly revealing its secrets over the past week. Each revelation was more staggering than the last. What I don't understand, she said, is why they chose us. Out of all the species they seeded, why were humans selected as their successors? The answer came not from Kai, but from the ship itself. The star map shifted, zooming in on Earth's solar system. Your adaptability, the ship's AI explained. Its voice had become clearer as it adjusted to human consciousness. Other species we seeded were stronger, faster, more technologically advanced. But humans possessed something unique, the ability to face the impossible and find a way forward. That's a pretty way of saying we're too stubborn to quit, Sarah remarked dryly. Precisely. The challenge we faced, the heat death of the universe, requires more than just technical skill. It requires imagination, creativity, and above all, determination. These are human traits. Kai was frantically taking notes on his tablet. But what exactly are we supposed to do? How can any species, even with your technology, prevent the eventual death of the universe? The star map shifted again, showing a complex network of energy patterns connecting various galaxies. Alone, it would be impossible. But you are not alone. There are 4 other vessels like this one, each containing crucial pieces of the solution. Together, they form what we called the Stellar Archive. Sarah studied the map carefully. And let me guess, getting to these other ships won't be easy. Correct. Each vessel is protected, hidden in locations that would challenge even our technology. And as I warned before, there are others who seek this knowledge. Some wish to use it for themselves. Others wish to destroy it entirely. Who are these others? Sarah asked. Other species, you seeded. Some, yes. But there are older things in the galaxy. Things that were ancient when we were young. Not all of them approved of our attempts to preserve civilization. A new voice interrupted their discussion. Captain Chen. It was Atlas, patched through from the Star Wanderer. We're detecting multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Their configurations don't match any known human or alien designs. Sarah straightened, years of salvage work having honed her instincts for trouble. Hostile. Unknown, but they're moving with coordinated precision. Military formation. She turned to Kai. Get back to your ship. Tell Earth Command what we've learned. No. The archivist AI interrupted. They're here for the archive. If you leave now, all will be lost. The ship is ready. We must go. Go? Go where? To find the next piece of the archive. The coordinates are already set. But you must decide now, Captain Chen. Once we begin this journey, there will be no turning back. Sarah felt the weight of the moment press down on her. She thought of her salvage business, her life in the solar system, all the comfortable certainties she'd built over the years. But she also thought of the message from the archivists, the desperate hope in those alien eyes. Atlas, she said finally, initiate emergency protocols. Transfer your core consciousness to memory systems. Send the Star Wanderer back to Earth on autopilot with all our data. Understood, Captain. Transfer beginning. She turned to Kai. Last chance to back out, Doctor. This is likely to be a one-way trip. The xenorchaeologist smiled, clutching his tablet like a shield. Captain, I've spent my entire career studying ancient alien civilizations. Now I have a chance to help save all civilizations. Try to stop me. The star map suddenly pulsed red. Multiple ships entering weapons range. Their intentions are hostile. Sarah took a deep breath, settling into the command chair that had reshaped itself to her body. Well then, let's see what this ship can really do. Atlas, are you integrated? Integration complete, Captain. All systems responding. Good. Plot a course to the nearest archive coordinates. Time to show these hostiles why the archivists chose humanity. The memory came alive around them, its liquid metal hull flowing and shifting into new configurations. The approaching ships opened fire, their energy weapons blazing across the void. But where they struck the memory's hull, the energy was simply absorbed, transformed, redirected. As Sarah laid her hands on the control surfaces, she felt the ship's consciousness merge with her own. Knowledge flooded her mind, not just information, but understanding. This was why the archivists had coded their technology into human DNA, not just to preserve it, but to ensure it would be used wisely. Hang on, she warned Kai. Then, with a thought, she activated the memory's drive system. Space itself seemed to fold around them. The hostile ships, the solar system, even the light of distant stars, all of it stretched and compressed like a digital image being reformed. When reality snapped back into focus, they were somewhere else entirely, orbiting a star Sarah had never seen before. Welcome, the ship's AI said, to the first waypoint. The next piece of the archive lies below, in the ruins of a civilization that died 1 million years ago. But be warned, we are not the first to arrive. Sarah looked at the planet below them, its surface scarred by ancient wars and natural disasters. Somewhere down there was another piece of the puzzle, another step toward saving the universe itself. And this was just the beginning. "Well," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt, "I always wanted to make history. I just didn't expect to have to save it first." The ruins stretched across the planet's surface, like the bones of a forgotten giant. Sarah stood at the edge of what had once been a city, her environmental suit's sensors struggling to process the strange readings from the structures around them. The air was thin but breathable, the gravity slightly lighter than Earth's, and the twin suns cast everything in an eternal purple twilight. "The meridians," Kai said, his voice filled with wonder as he consulted the data memory had provided. They were one of the first species the archivists seeded. They achieved spaceflight 2 million years before humans first used tools. "So what happened to them?" Sarah asked, though she had a feeling she already knew the answer. "They found something they weren't ready for," Atlas replied through their comm system. "Memory's archives indicate they discovered one of the archive vessels before they were meant to. The knowledge destroyed them." Sarah stepped carefully over a fallen column covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. And that's why the archivists added genetic locks to their later vessels, to prevent premature discovery. Correct. The archive can only be accessed when a species has reached sufficient technological and psychological maturity, which humanity has apparently achieved, Kai added, though I'm not entirely sure how. A sound echoed through the ruins, something between metal scraping on stone and electronic feedback. Sarah's hand went to the energy pistol at her hip, a weapon memory had fabricated for her using archivist technology. "We're not alone down here," she said quietly. "Atlas, what are you reading?" Multiple energy signatures, moving with purpose. They appear to be using some form of cloaking technology, but it's crude compared to archivist systems. I count at least 6 distinct entities. The same ones who followed us from Earth. No, these are different. Local hunters, perhaps. This region of space has been contested for millennia. Sarah motioned to Kai to stay close as they moved deeper into the ruins. The second archive piece was somewhere in this dead city, calling to memory like a beacon. But with each step, Sarah felt increasingly certain they were being herded. "Tell me about these hunters," she whispered. "They call themselves the Harvesters." Memory's AI joined the conversation. They searched the galaxy for advanced technology, stripping ancient sites of anything valuable. They cared nothing for knowledge or preservation, only power. "Wonderful," Sarah muttered. "Space pirates with a superiority complex." They reached what appeared to be a central plaza, dominated by a massive structure that resembled a blooming flower made of crystal and metal. As they approached, the crystal petals began to pulse with a soft blue light, the same shade as Memory's internal illumination. "That's it," Kai breathed. "The second archive piece." The air shimmered, and 6 figures appeared around them. They were tall, insectoid creatures with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs, clutching various weapons. Their leader stepped forward, mandibles clicking as it spoke through some form of translator. "The archive fragment is ours by right of discovery," it said. "Surrender now, and we may let you live as our servants." Sarah felt something stir in her mind. Knowledge from memory, flowing through the genetic connection she shared with the archivist technology. She understood exactly what this archive piece was and why it had been hidden here. "You don't even know what you're looking at," she said. "This isn't just some piece of advanced technology you can steal. It's part of a legacy meant to save everything, including your species." The Harvester leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "Save? There is nothing to save. The universe dies. That is its nature. We simply take what we can before the end." "That's where you're wrong," Sarah replied. She took a step toward the crystal structure, and it responded, the light growing brighter. The archivists found a way. But it only works if we work together. Cooperation is weakness, the Harvester declared. Power is truth. And now you will see true power. They raised their weapons, but Sarah was already moving. The genetic locks in her DNA weren't just for accessing archivist technology. They had changed her in subtle ways, preparing humanity for this moment. Her reflexes were faster, her mind processing information at speeds that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. She dove for cover as energy bolts seared the air where she had been standing. Kai had already taken shelter behind a fallen column, his tablet forgotten as he fumbled with the defensive shield memory had provided him. Any suggestions? Sarah called out as she returned fire, her energy pistol shots, somehow finding gaps in the Harvester's armor that she hadn't consciously aimed for. The archive piece. Memory's AI urge. Reach it. It will recognize you. Sarah nodded to Kai. Cover me. The archaeologist activated his shield, creating a corridor of protective energy. Sarah sprinted through it as the Harvesters concentrated their fire on her position. She reached the crystal structure and placed her hand on its surface. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The crystal flower bloomed fully, bathing the plaza in brilliant blue light. Knowledge flooded Sarah's mind, not just data, but understanding. She saw what the Meridians had discovered, what had destroyed them. But where they had been overwhelmed, she was ready. The light intensified, and suddenly Sarah knew exactly what to do. She reached out with her mind, connecting to both memory and this new archive piece. Energy surged through her, and the plaza itself began to transform. The Harvesters faltered as the ground beneath their feet shifted. Ancient machines, dormant for millions of years, awakened at Sarah's command. The entire city was coming alive, responding to the genetic keys the archivists had planted in human DNA. Last chance, Sarah called out to the Harvesters. Help us save everything, or leave with nothing. The insectoid creatures chittered among themselves, their weapons lowering slightly. Finally, their leader stepped forward again. Perhaps we have been thinking too small, it admitted. What is this salvation you speak of? Sarah smiled, the knowledge of two archive pieces now working in harmony within her mind. Let me show you what the archivists really had planned. It's bigger than any of us imagined. As she began to explain, she could feel memory's approval. This was why humanity had been chosen, not just for their ability to use the technology, but for their ability to turn enemies into allies, to find common ground even across the gulf of species and ideology. The universe was dying, yes, but with each piece of the archive they recovered, with each new ally they made, the impossible began to seem just a little more possible. And they were only getting started. 3 months had passed since their encounter with the Harvesters, and the memory had changed. Its hull now incorporated elements from both archive pieces they'd recovered, creating patterns that seemed to ripple with possibilities. The ship's interior had expanded, accommodating their growing crew. A mix of humans who'd followed Sarah's signal and reformed Harvesters who'd chosen to help their cause. Sarah stood on the observation deck, watching as reality twisted around their vessel. The third archive piece had led them here, to the edge of a black hole, where space and time themselves began to break down. Beside her, Kai was working with Zexley, their chief Harvester scientist, trying to make sense of the readings. It's impossible, Zexley chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation. No ship should be able to survive this close to the event horizon. That's rather the point, isn't it? Kai replied, not looking up from his calculations. The archivists didn't want anyone finding this piece by accident. Sarah felt the ship's consciousness merge with her own, a sensation that had become familiar but never ceased to amaze her. Through memory sensors, she could see things no human was meant to perceive, the very fabric of space-time warping around them, probability waves collapsing and reforming in endless patterns. Atlas, she called out, what are we looking at? The AI's voice was thoughtful. According to the archive's data, this black hole is artificial. The archivists created it to hide something, not just the third piece, but knowledge they feared might be discovered too soon. A new alarm sounded, and Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the signal. They found us. Through the viewing port, she could see them arriving. Ships of various designs, some familiar, others alien, all united in their determination to claim the Archive's power for themselves. The coalition that had been hunting them across the galaxy had finally caught up. Multiple vessels dropping out of FTL, Kai reported, his voice tense. I'm counting. 15. No, 20 ships. Some of them are using technology we've never seen before. They represent the consensus, Memory's AI explained. Species who believe the universe's death is inevitable and natural. They see our mission as an abomination. Sarah watched as the enemy fleet moved to surround them. They were trapped between the black hole and a force that vastly outnumbered them. But she felt no fear, only a growing certainty that they were exactly where they needed to be. They're sending a transmission, Atlas announced. A hologram appeared in the center of the observation deck, a being composed of pure energy, its form barely contained within a crystalline matrix. When it spoke, its voice resonated at frequencies that made Sarah's bones vibrate. Children of the archivists, it said, your interference ends here. You cannot comprehend the forces you meddle with. The death of this universe is not a tragedy to be prevented, but a necessity for the birth of the next. Sarah stepped forward, letting the Archive's knowledge flow through her. You're wrong. The archivists saw another way. They understood that life itself is precious, that consciousness is the universe's greatest achievement. It doesn't have to end. Naive creatures, the energy being pulsed with what might have been pity. You were chosen for your determination, yes, but also for your ignorance. You cannot see the larger pattern. No, Sarah replied, a smile forming on her face. You're the one who can't see it. Kai. Zexley. Now, the two scientists activated the device they'd been calibrating, a merger of archivist and harvester technology. The black hole's event horizon flickered, and for a brief moment, something impossible happened. They saw through it. The enemy fleet's weapons powered up, but they were too late. Sarah felt Memory's systems surge as the ship interfaced directly with the artificial black hole. Reality seemed to hiccup, and suddenly they were inside the event horizon itself, in a pocket of stable space that should not have existed. And there, floating in the eye of the impossible storm, was the third archive piece. But it wasn't a piece at all. It was a key. As Sarah gazed upon it, understanding flooded her mind. The universe isn't dying, she whispered. It's evolving. The archivists didn't want to prevent its death. They wanted to guide its rebirth. Through their neural link, Memory's AI confirmed her revelation. Yes, the heat death of the universe is inevitable, but what comes after is not. The archivists found a way to seed the next universe with the accumulated knowledge and consciousness of this one. A way to ensure that life and intelligence would continue, would grow, would remember. Outside their bubble of stable space, the enemy fleet held position, unable to follow but unwilling to retreat. They could only watch as Sarah directed Memory toward the key, the black hole network. Kai breathed, finally understanding. All those artificial black holes the archivists created, they're not just hiding places. They're doorways. Doorways to where? Zexley asked. Sarah knew the answer as Memory connected with the key, to the framework the archivists built between universes, a way to preserve everything worth saving before this universe ends and ensure it survives into the next. The key began to pulse with energy as it recognized the genetic markers in Sarah's DNA. But before she could reach it, a new signal cut through their communications, a familiar one. More ships dropping out of FTL, Atlas reported. But these signatures match Earth vessels. They followed our trail. Sarah felt a moment of pride. Of course they had. Humanity never could resist a mystery, never could back down from an impossible challenge. And now they were here, at the moment of truth, when the real scope of the archivist's plan would finally be revealed. Well, she said, looking at her diverse crew, human, harvester, and the AIs that had become as much a part of their family as anyone else, shall we show them what we found? The key pulsed again, stronger this time, calling to them. The next phase of their journey was about to begin, and with it, the true test of whether humanity was ready for the Archivist's greatest gift, the power to ensure that life itself would never truly end. Inside the impossible space within the black hole, time moved differently. Sarah felt it stretching around them like taffy as memory approached the key. Behind them, the Earth fleet engaged the consensus forces, buying them precious moments. The space between universes beckoned. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected, Atlas reported. The key is becoming unstable. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. Sarah looked at her crew, human scientists and reformed harvesters working side by side, united by a purpose greater than themselves. Through memory's systems, she could see the truth of what the Archivists had built, not just a way to survive the universe's death, but a bridge to what came after. The consensus still doesn't understand, she said. They think we're trying to prevent the inevitable. But that was never the point. Kai looked up from his instruments. The point was to learn from it, to carry forward what matters most. Correct. Memory's AI confirmed. The Archivists discovered that consciousness itself could survive the transition between universes, if properly preserved. They built this network of artificial black holes as anchor points, places where the barriers between what is and what will be are thinnest. But they needed someone to complete the work, Zexley added, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Someone who could unite others, who could see beyond the immediate survival of their own species. A massive explosion rocked their bubble of stable space. Outside, the battle between Earth's forces and the consensus was reaching its peak. The enemy's energy beings were unleashing weapons that distorted reality itself, while humanity's ships, though technologically inferior, moved with a coordination and creativity that kept them in the fight. Sarah placed her hand on the key, feeling its resonance with her modified DNA. The knowledge of 3 archive pieces flowed through her mind, showing her the pattern, the way forward. But it wasn't complete. They still needed the 4th piece. Atlas. She called out, signal the Earth fleet. Tell them to fall back to minimum safe distance. What are you planning, Captain? Kai asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. Sarah smiled. Something impossible. Memory. Show them what the Archivists really built. The ship's consciousness merged fully with hers, and together they activated the key. The black hole's event horizon rippled, and suddenly they could see them. Thousands of similar black holes scattered across the galaxy, each one an anchor point, each one holding a piece of the bridge between universes. And in the space between them, something vast and beautiful was taking shape. The accumulated knowledge and consciousness of countless civilizations, preserved and protected, waiting for the moment of transition. By all that moves, Zexley whispered, it's already happening. The framework exists. It's just waiting to be completed. The consensus fleet had noticed the change. Their weapons fire ceased as they too saw the truth, the network of black holes lighting up across space, revealing the scope of the Archivist's plan. The energy being appeared again in their holographic display, but this time its voice held something new. Uncertainty. What is this? It demanded. What have you done? We haven't done anything yet, Sarah replied. But we will. The Archivists didn't choose humanity because we were special. They chose us because we understand something you never could. The power of working together, of seeing beyond our differences. Through their neural link, memory showed her the location of the final archive piece. It was close, hidden in plain sight within another artificial black hole. With the key's activation, they could reach it now. You have a choice, Sarah told the energy being. You can help us complete the bridge, ensure that consciousness survives into the next universe, or you can fade away when this one ends. But you can't stop us. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, the consensus ships began to power down their weapons. The energy being's crystalline matrix pulsed with new colors. Perhaps, it said slowly, we have been preserved by the archivists as well, maintained in this form to see this moment, to make this choice. Sarah nodded. Everything that lives shares one thing: the desire for what comes after us to be better than what came before. Help us build that bridge. The energy being's form shifted, becoming more focused. Show us. Sarah felt memory systems surge with power as the ship interfaced with the key. The black hole network hummed with potential, and she saw it all. The framework the archivists had built, the consciousness of countless species preserved within it, the bridge between what was and what would be. Atlas, she commanded, set course for the final piece. Let's finish what the archivists started. As memory moved through the impossible space between black holes, Sarah looked at her crew, human and alien, organic and artificial, all working together towards something greater than themselves. The universe might be ending, but they would ensure that its story, its consciousness, its potential would live on. This was why humanity had been chosen, not because they were perfect, but because they never stopped trying to be better. Because they could look into the face of the impossible and see not an ending, but a beginning. The final piece of the archive waited ahead, and with it, the power to ensure that life itself would continue, evolve, and remember. The bridge between universes was nearly complete, and humanity would help build it, one impossible step at a time.